Hello and welcome to Legacy of Leaders. I'm Chuck Coker, your host, and I'm so glad to be here with you today because we have a very special guest. Todd Smith heads up Critical Response Strategies, and he has a plan for those of you that need it. Todd, welcome. It's good to have you.
It's good to be here.
Tell
Thank
me
you.
about Critical Response Strategies.
So Critical Response Strategies is a local organization that was specifically built to bring strategic innovative ideas to help government through the toughest challenges. And it could be disasters, it could be shelters, it could be staffing, any of those ideas, but it was specifically built to help government and get through the worst times.
Wow. So, well, working with governments, not the easiest job to do.
Well, in my previous life, I was a director of emergency management, so I'm using a lot of those lessons, those experiences, to help us guide through and work through some of the challenges of working with government. I think with experience, government nothing is easy and nothing should be easy. It should be, the effort should be there. But working with government doesn't have to be hard if you've got some experience and you know how to navigate it. And that's what we have skilled team members that are able to do that.
That's excellent. So tell me about what services you actually provide. You mentioned a number of them just a moment ago, but what are the key things that you focus on?
So foundationally, the business has been in staffing internationally, and that could be medical care, behavioral health resources, special medical needs registry or shelters and registry, helping when a county may activate shelters for an evacuation. They need qualified, capable staff that is instantaneously available. A lot of counties don't have that type of staff that is sitting in reserve. And so partnering with a private business like ours allows you to get that same staffing qualified, unaffected by the local disaster, so that you've got people that are able to come in and augment the government services. And so one of our other biggest areas right now that we're focusing on is behavioral health. And that is during a disaster, there are, whether it's any number of the events we won't name that occur in our country. After that, families need assistance, and families need and individuals need behavioral health services. Well, you can't just turn that off when the disaster's over.
That's true.
And so what we do is we are working with many states to try to stand up a behavioral health services process that, from the ground up, from planning, identifying resources, being able to bring in qualified, capable, certified, credentialed staff that helps the county work through it. And then when it's time and appropriate, then those services can be sunsetted in a sense, so that the county isn't working the disaster longer than it needs to necessarily, but they're also equipped when it happens and if it happens. And you can't pick when and where. So,
well, I know that there are a number of organizations that are out there that would love to work with the government. Was it hard getting into this particular area, or did it just gradually evolve?
So as a director of emergency management, I work with the CEO, Will, and Will is very experienced at this and has grown this as a company. And so how do you work with governments? We would like to partner with anybody that really is interested in the community good, and us, as whether we were previous government or previous public safety or what have you, being able to do the best for the public good in the disastrous circumstances. We want to partner with anybody. And so Will has really done a great job of making our easily making it where it's understandable. I think that a lot of folks don't necessarily understand how the government, public-private sector process works, and he has made it very easy. And it's conversational. It's you and I having a conversation about it to understand where we each are in our roles. And that's, to me, the foundation of how to make government work really well. Start having a conversation about it.
That's excellent. Well, you come from that public service sector. Where did you actually start?
I started out as a fireman, and decided that I wanted to continue my education. I never stopped. I graduated high school and haven't stopped since. And I've got an MBA and an MPA, and working on my PhD and with major universities. And it's been fun and learning. So that led me to try to learn as much as I could about leadership, learn about as much as I could about guiding and helping others, and the difference between supervising and managing and leading, and trying to arm myself with that. And then and over time ended up getting assigned to projects, helped run the Urban Search and Rescue Training Program, the hazmat training program for Jacksonville Fire and Rescue Department, and then was appointed by Mayor Curry as the Director of Emergency Management. Spent the last 8 years there, and I have learned, the processes and where the successes can occur in local, state, and federal government. And that education is huge, and it doesn't come overnight. And so what I've said now is I moved into the private sector working with CRS, and I love that, I can bring experiences into conversations that can, help alleviate some of the stress of trying to work through something, because anybody in government, all they want to do, they get into government because they do want to help the community. And there's a litany of topics as to what that is, whether it's schools.
I bet there is. Well, let me ask you this. I know that you're a very unique service, and if people wanted to get in touch with you, how would they get in touch with you? And the second part of that question is, how do you actually refine who you actually decide to work with?
So Critical Response Strategies online, spelling it out, all 3 words, Critical Response Strategies online. That's the best way. There's a Contact Us link there. My link will probably show up in this video for LinkedIn. Connect with me there. I love speaking with people and love, whether we end up having a partnership or not having a partnership, we can learn from each other. That's ideal, in our business going forward, and in others' businesses going forward, or in their personal lives or what have you. But connecting with us through the online website is the primary means. And then, how do we end up connecting together to use services? Just have the conversation, and at the end of that, we'll either say, we need to be partners. I can tell you, just about every conference, every meeting that we have, I have a saying, have a meeting, something will happen.
There you go.
We have meetings, something happens, and even if somebody walks away and says, I don't need those services now, that's not something that necessarily I'm engaged in, but we will have all learned something, and we will have all been able to make another topic even better.
Well, Todd, thank you so much for your time.
Yes,
I really appreciate you sharing this information. And for those of you that have been listening in today, I hope you learned something about the fact that if you have a desire to work with government, start a conversation. And we're glad you joined us on Legacy of Leaders. I'm Chuck Coker, your host, and hope you'll be back with us next time.